Hello English 100. This is one of your videos for week 6. This is revising week. The final draft of essay 1 is due week 7. So in week 6, we focus on revising your paper. A reminder that revising is a big job, not a small job. So there's a lot of different things to think about. This video is about revising step 2, which is about clarifying. Not clarifying one sentence or this sentence or that, but clarifying the whole essay. How are you going to make the whole thing fit together in a really clear way? You have to stay focused for many pages. You have to be organized. You have to state a thesis, and all your body paragraphs have to support the thesis. So, in order to work on that, I want to show you the sample outline that we looked at last week in week 5 about dad. So remember this dad essay question. This is not your essay question, but we're using it for the sample. So it's about the beliefs of Gene Westover, Tara's dad. And so this is the outline I gave you last week, but I've started working on it. Plus I'm going to point out one problem. So as you move towards your final draft, you should keep on working on your outline and make your outline better. So let's look at the outline for this essay. And I want to show you one thing that I already made better. So notice that this part, dad and education, now has A and B. So I decided to put the education things together, but I think A and B are separate paragraphs. So in the rough draft, maybe I just had one paragraph about dad's beliefs about education. But now I have a lot of details, I have more evidence, so I'm thinking, let's make 2 paragraphs about dad and education. One about public schools, like the children don't go to school, and then one about that spot where he talks about college professors. I think it's on page 42, how professors are socialists and liars. So notice I'm making each paragraph a little more specific. Same with dad and medicine. Now I'm going to have 2 paragraphs instead of 1. One paragraph about how dad doesn't trust doctors and hospitals, so I'll give all my evidence about that. And then another paragraph about how dad wants mom to do herbal medicine and midwifery, how he thinks that that's what the Lord commands and that kind of thing. Here's another example. Part 4 of this essay. You can see this essay can be really long. I think this is like a 10-page paper now. Dad and religion. So I'm going to have different paragraphs for different parts. So I'm making my outline more exact. Instead of 1 paragraph on dad and religion, I'm going to have 3 paragraphs. So you can see this is how you make your essay longer. So my first paragraph will be dad believes he knows the commandments of God. My second paragraph will be dad also believes that the family must be ready for the days of abomination, the end of the world. And then I added a third paragraph about them being preppers or survivalists because dad thinks the world will end. So notice as I revise my essay, I'm making my outline more exact. So each body paragraph might be about something very small. One example, instead of having a paragraph like in my rough draft that's kind of about a big topic, a broad topic. Okay. So once I've started working on my outline, then I'm going to go back to my thesis because I want to make sure that my thesis matches the outline. So when you add new things, then you're going to have to go back to the thesis. So let's look at the thesis. So a couple things about the thesis. Notice I have vague thesis and precise thesis. Think of your vague thesis as your rough draft thesis. You're sketching it out. It's your first stab at writing a thesis, but then you're going to make it better. Vague thesis. You will see that dad believes lots of strange things. Well, that's true. It's okay in a way. You know, if you had that as your thesis, the paper might make sense. But in a college paper, you make your thesis more exact, more precise, a little more detail. So here's a precise thesis. Tara's dad has many unusual beliefs, and he seems to be distrustful and paranoid. In his view, teachers, professors, doctors, and the federal government cannot be trusted because they represent socialism and the Illuminati. So notice this thesis is more exact. Reminder, the thesis goes at the end of your introduction paragraph. That's the standard spot for it. Okay, so now I have a more precise thesis, but I want to make sure it matches my essay. So I'm going to look back at my plan and see if everything is matching. Okay, so I have a part about dad and education, teachers, so that's in the thesis. Dad in medicine, doctors, that's in the thesis. Dad in the government, that's in the thesis right there. So I'm going through my outline to see if everything in the outline is in the thesis, so that my thesis really matches the paper, because this is going to make my paper better. So part 4, dad and religion. Dad believes he knows the commandments of God, the days of abomination. So now I'm checking my thesis. Oops. Look at the thesis. There's nothing about God in there. Okay. The thesis doesn't match, or not exactly. So now I have to tinker with this thesis. So I'm going to think about how I'm going to add his religious belief to this thesis. Here's what I'll do here. So all these things can't be trusted because they violate the commandments of God. Now my thesis matches the essay better. But then I'm asking myself, oh, do I put in something about the world will end? Well, maybe I need to add a little more to my thesis about how the world will end. So notice I have to think about that. So every time I add something to my paper, I have to go back to the thesis and make sure the thesis matches. And then, at the end of the day, when my paper is 7 pages long, everything makes sense. I state a thesis in the introduction, and then during the essay, everything in the thesis gets covered with detail. Okay, I think this video is long enough. Thank you for watching.